The portions of Torah for last week and this week, Tazria and Metzora, sometimes read as one portion. This is the one portion of the Torah that Bnei Mitzvah students dread the most, and understandably so. The content is too close to home because it is so personal and so relevant for pre-teenagers. That is because both portions contain a very detailed description of various skin diseases. Think pimples. Essentially, it reads like a dermatologist's manual. What is fascinating to me as I read this section is the list of precautions that people had to take, especially with regards to spreading the tzarat, a form of potentially contagious skin disease. Not only did the person who was affected by tzarat have to quarantine, but the entire house had to be cleaned. Everyone's clothes had to be washed or thrown out, and even the vessels that the person may have touched were required to be destroyed and discarded. One may say that this was a logical way to stop the potential spreading of the disease, but for that time period, it was quite revolutionary. This is because, in a way, the Torah successfully codifies the laws of hygiene and quarantine. Also, while the law required people affected by the skin condition, which may or may not have been contagious, to go into isolation, the community was still required to care for these people, and the camp would not be allowed to move if the Israelites had to wait for someone to be healed. This is similar to the case of Miriam, who was afflicted with leprosy for gossiping about Moses' wife. This story comes later in the Torah in Numbers 12. Based on that story, or perhaps because human nature is such that we need to have a logical explanation concerning why we get sick, ancient rabbis argued that tzarat refers not only to bodily disease, but to a physical manifestation of spiritual malice. They determined that tzarat was a punishment for spiritual misconduct. The reason for this judgment is to avoid only focusing on the suffering of the afflicted, but to also consider how to treat the person who has transgressed. Since one couldn't hide the signs of the skin disease, it was as if that person's negative inner thoughts had become visible to everyone in the community. The rabbis created the following list of 12 reasons for which a person could be afflicted with a skin disease. Ready? For idolatry, for desecration of the name of God, for unchastity, for theft, for slander, for false witness, for judge who perverts justice, for swearing in vain, for entering a domain which is not yours. This could allegorically also extend to meaning someone who gossips about someone else's personal matters, for thinking false thoughts, for instigating quarrels among brothers, and some also say for having an evil eye. And that's paraphrasing Midrash Tanhuma, Metzora 4. In other words, the rabbis were making a point that not only do the destructive and harmful actions deserve punishment, but that even one's negative, malicious thoughts deserve to be addressed and punished. This concept may sound absurd to us. In modern times, we don't embrace the thought that one may become infected with a skin disease as a punishment for bad thoughts. This actually almost sounds like a spell placed on someone by the use of witchcraft. And yet, it does serve as a reminder that while people cannot read our minds, our negative thoughts can still be very harmful to others. Just as we learn the laws of ethical behavior from the Torah, so too we can learn to control the impulse of our negative thinking. I think that this can be achieved through conscious control of one's thoughts. For example, if you feel that you want to say something negative about another person, try to stop yourself and think how your words can potentially be harmful. Or, for example, if you feel a bit of jealousy of someone creeping in, try to change your resentful thoughts to focus instead on how happy you are for that person. It always helps to give others the benefit of the doubt and to look at the world around us in a positive way. Not only will this kind attitude save us from leprosy, but it will also have a profound positive impact on our society.